Hello, welcome to another video, and today is going to be the part 2 of everything that you need to know about working in Malta. Okay, so if you haven't watched the part 1, I strongly encourage you to watch it, because otherwise you are only gonna have half of the story, and I think it's very important and relevant everything that I said in the other video. So definitely, if you haven't watched it, just stop this video and watch the other video first. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with the part 2, and I'm just gonna start about talking about how to get a gaming job in Malta. Oh, by the way, if you are looking to relocate to Malta soon, I definitely encourage you to download the free relocation essential guide, which I will leave the link right below. It will definitely give you some good insight about Malta and whether or not Malta is for you. Okay, so let's start talking about actually how to get an iGaming job in Malta. And if you watched the previous video, you know that the iGaming industry is the biggest in Malta, and definitely is the industry in which I recommend you to try and get the job, because it's gonna be the best well paid. If you are going to look for work into the iGaming industry, make sure that you have some of the most demanded skills, which are language skills and also some other skills, such as, for example, more technical, for example, IT, fraud and AML, or marketing. But there are many other skills that they are demanding as well, which I mentioned in the first part of this video. Okay, but let's say that you really want to look to find a job. So first of all, the first thing that you need to get right is your CV. And there are a few things that you need to keep in mind in order of how you are going to structure your CV. And the first thing that you need to have here is the photo. Okay, so this is something that might be very evident, but I know that in some countries, like in some American countries, having a photo in the CV is not that common. And I know that they might find a little bit weird, but yes, in Malta and generally in Europe, it's something that is a common practice to have a photo. Okay, so another part that you should have in the CV is, of course, the summary of, which is gonna be a short paragraph or about the thing that you are going to talk about in your CV, about your experience, just at a glance. Okay, and then of course you are going to want to include your experience. You are also want to include what skills do you have and you can bring to the table, and also your contact information. And in this case, I don't feel like having some information like, for example, your home address, sorry, or something like that is going to be very relevant, but you are going to want to have in these sections some data, for example, such as, for example, your email address where they can contact you, your Skype ID, your LinkedIn profile, or your phone number. So anything that you think that it might be useful for them to contact you and get in touch with you, definitely include in this contact section. And finally, of course, you have the education section, which you can include some courses that you have done in the past, or some university degrees that you have that are relevant for the role. Okay, so this is a little bit of how I recommend you to structure your CV. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this order, it's just to give you an idea of what part you should include on it. Okay, so let's say that you now have your CV and you are really determined to find an iGaming job in Malta. So what you should look at? So the number one place that I recommend you to look at is LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn is the best place because you are going to find up-to-date postings, and you are going to be able to apply right in the platform. And I think it's the most effective way, and this is also how I find my job. So that's why I recommend you LinkedIn, because personally I have a very good experience on finding job in this platform. Another way that you could do is to actually check the career section of some of the companies websites that you want to work for. Okay, so check the career section, and you will also usually find up-to-date posting. Now the third way that you could do, it's by applying through jobs board, and the most famous job board in Malta are Jobs in Malta, Keep Me Post, on Career Yet. Okay, so I will leave a link below of all the job boards that I just mentioned before. There's of course more job boards, but let's say that those are the more important, the biggest one. However, there is a caveat here that you need to keep in mind, and the thing is that in the jobs board, the vacancies are not often up to date, and this is a very big problem because sometimes you find that they are posting a vacancy and they are emailing you about a vacancy that probably you have been seeing in LinkedIn 1 or 2 months ago, and it is not available anymore. So this is why I'm not quite supportive when it comes to those job boards, and I prefer to use something like LinkedIn, which is definitely the best way. Okay, so now that you know where to look for a job, let's say that you find a job and you actually got an interview. Okay, so that's a very big step, and if you actually got to this step, congratulations definitely for doing that. But now that you are in the interview, how are the interview going to be structured here? Okay, so normally the interview are structured in 2 or 3 stages, okay, so, but sometimes it even offers a pre-interview stage, which is usually a psychological test in which they want to analyze, it's like a kind of game, and they want to analyze how you think logically and things like that. So some companies do that, some companies doesn't, and to be honest, it's not very common practice. Normally they will ask you straight away for the first step interview, which is going to be a face-to-face interview. It doesn't have to be with one other person, it could be with 2 persons, probably the head of the department and also the human resource manager of the company you are interviewing for. And this interview is usually online, like you are going to be doing the interview by Skype or by Google Meets or by Zoom or whatever software the company is using for that. And it's just, they are just going to ask you normal things about an interview, like why are you qualified for this role, or some behavioral question as well. So definitely that's something that you need to be prepared. I'm not going to talk about how to prepare an interview because it's going to take me a lot of time here, but I will leave you a link below where you can check all these tips. Okay, so now let's say that you went through the first stage, it was good, and then they call you for the second stage interview. So the second stage interview is usually a task. So you usually have to do a task that is related to the role that you apply for. So let's say that you are apply for a role related to fraud and AML, you are gonna do a task that is related to that. If you apply for a role of media buyer, you are gonna be doing a task related to media buyer, especially with analytics. Okay, so that's a little bit of what you could expect, and you need to go to this. And sometimes some companies also include a third stage interview. And this third stage interview could be another task, or just simply going to the office to do an extra interview face-to-face personally, so you can get to know the team and the team get to know you, and they got a feeling over or not you will be a very good fit for them, for that position and the team. Okay, although the third steps I would say is not that, is less common, but for sure you are gonna have the first and second step. Even I actually have to say that sometimes you will only have first step interview. It really depends on how bad the company really needs someone at that moment. Okay, so that's more a little bit of it. Okay, so let's say that you went through those interview stage and you actually passed the interview and got the job. Okay, so now what? Okay, so once you get the job, you are going to sign up a contract, and I'm gonna tell you a few things that are key because those are very extremely linked with the Maltese law. And every contract should include something like that. So I'm gonna talk about the probational period and the notice period in case you want to leave the company. So the probational period here in Malta is usually 6 months. Okay, 6 months is the minimum that you should do as a probational period. However, some companies may give you a longer probational period, up to a year, if their compensation or the salary is the double of the national minimum wage. And to be honest, I have not found a company that offer that is gonna tell you to do 1 whole year operational period, because this is a lot, and I'm just telling you this based on the research that I did in the website, because personally it have never happened to me. Normally they are gonna ask you for 6 months and that is it. Okay, Okay, so now that you know a little bit of the probational period, let's say that you have been working for the company for quite a while and now you want to leave the company. So what is the notice period that you should give? So it's going to depend on how long have you been working in the company. So if you have only been working for 1 month, so during the first month, you can really leave whenever you want and you don't really even need to do or give a notice period. And also for, on the other hand, the company can actually kick you out as well in the first month without giving you any explanation. But that is only on the first month. But let's say that you are between your first and your 6th month, and in other words, during your probational period without counting the first month, okay? Because the first month counts different. So if you are between the first and 6th month and you want to leave the company before passing your probational period, then you are going to have to give a notice of at least 1 week, okay? But if you have passed the probational period and let's say that you have been working from 6 months to 2 years, then the notice period is going to be 2 weeks, okay? 2 weeks. And then if you have been working from 2 to 4 years, then the notice is going to be 4 weeks. If you have been working from 4 years to 7 years, then notice period is going to be 8 weeks. And after 7 years, you are going to have to add one extra week of notice for every extra year that you do after the 7th year. Okay, this is how it works, and I will definitely leave you the link with all this information that is available online. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you right below in the description part, so check it out. Now, this is a little bit of it. This is everything that I wanted to mention you, because I think it's very important for you to know that how do you usually apply for a job, what are the interview steps, and how the contract agreement looks like as well, okay? Again, if you haven't watched the part 1 of this video, I definitely encourage you to watch it so you have the full story of what I'm talking about right here. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you are watching me from YouTube, definitely like and subscribe, because that's gonna help me a lot. And also I definitely recommend you to download the free relocation essential guide, especially if you are thinking about relocating to Malta. I will leave the link below. Don't forget to do that. And again, thank you so much for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.